Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Before we get started, please like and subscribe and comment down below. It'll help us out a lot to keep making content and helping you guys out with your mock interviews or learning how to code. So today I'm here with the mechanical engineer.
Hello there.
So we are on probably our 15th lesson so far. So today, last time we did a couple challenge problems, right? I think we did FizzBuzz, and we messed around with recursion and a bunch of other stuff. So we do binary search. So now what we're going to talk about are classes. So classes are very important. You'll start learning about, object-oriented programming and things like that. So the general idea of a class is it's basically a way to encapsulate a bunch of variables and functions into one single entity, right? Mm-hmm. So, and say you have something like a car or an animal or some real world object that has a lot of traits associated with it. So instead of having, thousands of variable names that correspond to each of your car in your program or each animal in your program, you can just have a class called car or a class called animal that can have all the information about it and also functions like, say you want the animal to run or walk or sleep or something like that. So to start off, we can just go over the syntax of a class and then we can kind of see how it works. So why don't you just start and define a class. So the keyword for that is class, all lowercase. And then let's call this just my class. So the sort of standard for classes is you're going to have capital first letter. And then underscores, and then you can just capitalize class. And then just get rid of the underscore there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of the naming convention that classes follow. Then you put a colon, as you would for functions or conditional statements. And then in here, why don't we just have some variable you can call a variable. And then set that equal to 100 or something. And then we'll also define a method. So it's a function that is within this. So to do that, it's just the same way you define a function. Yep. Let's call it, sure. And then this will take in this thing called self. So self, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just for now, this function will take in 0 arguments. So it's the same as if you just had open close parenthesis. And then in here, why don't you print out a string, and we'll print this this variable is this, and then put a space and then a comma, and then just put self.variable. Nice. We'll talk about what self means in a second, but for now, just pop back outside of the class, and then why don't you just say my C. We're just gonna create an object. So lowercase now, because this is just a variable name. And then we're gonna set that equal to my class. And then you have to put parentheses there with no arguments at the end. Yep. All right, cool. So then below that, just type myc.method_1. So we're going to call that method now. And then because it's a function, make sure you put the parentheses. So when you run that, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
There you go. So what we did there is we created something called my class, right? And within that, we defined a variable called variable. We set that equal to 100. And we also created a method that prints what that variable is. So that self keyword will basically tie you to the instance of your class or your object that is created. So on line 6, you have my C. So now whenever you reference self in your class definition, it is referencing the my C object. So any of the members or variables or methods in that class will be referenced with self. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So now what you can do is let's do something. Let's change my class to person.
Up here?
Yep. Let me get a little bit more like real world.
Okay.
All right, cool. So now we're going to learn about this thing called a constructor. So if you look on line 6, right, when you create my class, you actually use parentheses, and it kind of looks like a function call.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you instantiate my C, that is going to call the constructor of your class.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you change that to person, actually, just because we updated it, right? So what we can do here is we can define a custom constructor. And let's assume that in this person, we want to define them as a name and an age, right? So two things that the person can have, right?
Okay. Yep.
So on line 2 there, why don't you just, I'll read out what the syntax is. So delete that line. And then we're going to add a function, so def. And then you're going to do underscore, underscore, init, and then underscore, underscore. So then this is our constructor, and this will take in self. And then it will also take in a name and an age.
Yes.
All right. Yep. So now on line 8 there, when you create person, why don't you add a name and an age? The name will say is a string, and then age will be a number.
So person, Sharon, and then we need an age.
Yep.
92.
All right. Sharon is learning how to code at a very old age.
Mm-hmm.
So on line 3 there, what we have to do now is, because remember I mentioned that self is going to be kind of is going to reference the instance of the class that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So in the constructor, we're just giving things from the call to person to the constructor. So we just have to basically assign this to self.name and self.age. So it might look a little weird, but what you're going to do is you're going to say self.name equals name and self.age equals age. So I don't know if you remember when I talked about scope and things like that, but by setting self.name and self.age, now throughout our object or our class now, we will always have access to what was passed in the constructor because we are setting name and age as part of the class itself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So now in method 1, why don't you just print in method 1 there, why don't we just do a print for name and a print for age?
Down here or up here?
Yeah, so say like this name is, and then this age is.
I'll do self.name, right?
Yep.
And then do like this.
Instead of doing it that way, why don't we just have 2 print statements, so that way we get 2 lines, so it looks a little cleaner.
Okay.
So then on the next line, just do, yeah.
And the ages. That age.
There you go.
Cool.
So now let's run this again, and we'll see what we get. All right, cool.
Okay.
So now what we'll do is, because we just assigned name and age to self.name and self.age, we can actually have a method that, let's say it's Sharon's birthday, right? And we want to add 1 to her age. So why don't you write a function called hadBirthday in the class itself?
In class?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So all of these functions that we're writing within our class here will be referenced just like they are on line 10.
So I need to, is this right?
So do you think you need to pass age here?
Maybe not.
Right, because in the constructor, we can access age of the instance of our class with self.age.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So here, why don't you just do self.age plus equals 1, because they had a birthday. Right? So now on line 12, let's call hadBirthday. Now make sure you're calling it on the object that we declared, right? Because we're saying Aaron had a birthday, right? So to do that, you would just do myc dot, and it might be better if we change myc to like Sharon or something to make it, a little clearer, but this is fine. So she added birthday, and then let's just call method 1 again to make sure that her age got updated now.
Underneath?
Yep.
Like this?
Yeah. So what we're saying is, what's our initial condition? Let's update a variable because they had a birthday, and then let's see what the new state is. So why don't you go ahead and run that?
Okay.
So there you go. So you can see that. Now imagine instead if we didn't have a class here and we had 15 people and they're all having birthdays at various times. It might get really confusing to have Sharon underscore age equals 92, Sharon underscore Bill underscore age equals this, and you're gonna have like dozens of lines of variable names that you have to keep track of. But now we just have this person, and we can literally just say, assuming that our variable names are a little bit more descriptive than this, if we know that we want, person 12 to have a birthday because that, in our program, we're doing like a scheduling thing and we want to send them a discount code or something like that for their coffee, right? Then you can just say, had birthday, and then within had birthday, you can say like send email request with coupon.
Okay.
Instead of keeping track of all this stuff everywhere, and we basically did something in 13 lines of code, and if we wanted to add a new person, it's only 4 more lines instead of writing all these functions again and passing things around crazily. So now we just encapsulated everything into this class person, and this class person has members, which are the variables in the functions, and we can access everything with using dot, just like you did. So
cool.
So yeah, this is kind of a brief, just syntax overview of classes. I think next time we might, just in the theme of going with, technical interviews and things like that, we'll start talking about data structures, and I think it will help you understand how classes work a little bit better. So we might talk about linked lists, which are a lot of people's least favorite data structure. They're not super common, I would say. That's definitely an opinion of mine, but from my I've seen them used too often, and actually I've specifically had to take them out of production before. But anyway, good job on this one. So like I said, we'll go a little bit more in depth next time on classes and different data structures you can make with them.
Great, thank you.